Hello and welcome back to another episode of CharlaFootball. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo Jerry Tavares, accompanied by nobody today. Unfortunately, my two co-hosts are out. They weren't able to watch the games or to prepare the games with me. So unfortunate, but it happens. Everybody has their own life. But I'm here. I was able to watch the Copa America final between Colombia and Argentina, and I mean, first of all, what a matchup! But before we get into everything, make sure you guys follow the page, CharlaFootball, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff, YouTube, Spotify. Support your small creators because together we're going to make it big. Goal is to be at the 2026 World Cup. So let's just keep pumping out content. Let's grow this page as much as we can. Support me, support my fellow co-hosts, and anybody else that I bring onto the page. But I mean, let's just get straight into it. I mean, an incredible matchup, one of the most hyped matchups between Colombia, Argentina, one of the most hyped Copa America finals. I mean, the last time we saw Copa America final, I think there was no more than 6,000 fans in the stadium because of COVID. Now we got a full stadium, and unfortunately, it was an extremely full stadium due to the occurrences that happened outside of Hard Rock Stadium. We're not going to go too into depth, but a security issue, of course, happened where thousands of fans rushed the gates, jumped gates, getting through security, injuring people, and people getting arrested as well. People with no tickets trying to get into the game, and I think at some point security just gave up because in trying to block people from coming in, you're squishing other people and children and families that do have tickets and do are trying to enjoy the game, have a wonderful experience. And in that, I mean, you provide a terror, a nightmare almost. So they were just like, you know what, before we get more blood on our hands, let's just get people through. And that's eventually what happened. Thousands of people without tickets ended up going through, and I'm pretty sure hundreds of thousands of people with tickets were left out, which is just a sad sight to see. It's sad for the United States specifically because the US are getting all the bad rep, when in reality this is on the organizers of the Copa America, which are CONMEBOL. They should have had more control over, I mean, policies regarding security, policies regarding policing, regarding rules. I mean, anything that goes into throwing an event. Obviously, I'm not an event planner. I don't know everything about that, but CONMEBOL has 100% authority over this, or at least most of the authority over this, and nonetheless all to blame as well. So before people start pointing at the federation and start pointing at U.S. Sports and venues, I mean, you have to realize that the U.S. have hosted hundreds of incredible. I mean, they've already hosted a World Cup, which was a success. They've already hosted Super Bowls at the Hard Rock Stadium before, and it's been a success. They've hosted concerts with no problem. I think there's just a lot of bad rep because people love to throw the U.S. under the under the bus, but it's just what happens in stadiums all over the world. We saw that it happened at Wembley in 2021 as well. I believe it was before the Euros or before the one of the Champions League finals. But I mean, I even saw it in person happening this recent Champions League final in Wembley as well. Hundreds of Dortmund and English fans and just fans in general just trying to sneak into stadiums. It happens at all kinds of events. It's just of this magnitude and with this type of coverage. Obviously, it doesn't happen that often, but you know, it's fair to say that this is all on CONMEBOL. So if you want anybody to blame, for those who are listening, it is on CONMEBOL. It is on the organizing party. So it is 100% on them. But enough of that. Let's get straight into the football. An hour was delayed uh, of what would have been the game time. So that was kind of unfortunate, but I mean, it's just what happens. It happens in football in general. And but right before the kickoff, you saw that some of the players were distraught, a little bit distracted. Fans and family members were not able to get in, or some players had to go out in order to escort their family members in to be safe in order to be safe. And I mean, it's something that we've not seen, at least I haven't seen in my lifetime. So at least they were able to get some of their family members in. But now going into football, Argentina not the best, not in their best form, obviously. Colombia in the form of their life. I think there were 28 matches unbeaten, their first final in 23 years, and a golden generation. I mean, compared to the 2014 golden generation that got them to the quarterfinal of World Cup, this one looked a lot better, a lot more tactically sound, a lot more uh, physical and stronger, and just overall experienced and stronger, especially with the James Rodriguez leading the side, who has found his his shooting boots, has found his assisting boots, he found his rhythm, he found. I mean, when he puts on that Colombia shirt, it's like Superman all over again. It's like 2014 James all over again before he went to Real Madrid, and not ruined his career, but just didn't really fully take off like we would have liked to see him. And today he was okay. I wouldn't say he was anything crazy. He did get taken off, I think, in the 90 minutes. Obviously, the game went into extra time, but I mean, fair to Colombia, I'm sure they made their fans proud, and they made Shakira proud and Carol G proud, who were also in the stadium, who were performing. I think Carol G had the was singing the Colombian national anthem, and then obviously Shakira had the halftime show, which is just another mess from this whole organization. And this one I'll probably put on the U.S. because I mean this is something that we see in U.S. sports where we have a halftime show that lasts over 20 minutes with a performer, a very popular performer. And I mean, you just don't want to see that in a football match. I get it. There's a lot of hype, and you want to give fans the best spectacle, but I'd much prefer just the 15 minutes a normal football match versus like a whole show in between, especially with everything that happened before. But I'm sure they were proud. Like I said, Karol G and Shakira were obviously proud to see Colombia in this instance. They're making history. 23 years was the last time they won the Copa America, let alone went to the final. And in that final, they beat Mexico 1-0. And in this one, you were hoping to see Colombia as the underdogs kind of create their own history and set up this narrative where as the underdog they take down the big dog in Argentina, who have already won the Copa America, who have already won the World Cup, who have the best player in Lionel Messi, who I mean doesn't really need the Copa America, he's already won it all. But on the day, Argentina were just way better. I think Scaloni made the better changes, made them a lot faster, and I think Argentina were just overall a lot smarter compared to Colombia, who really showed their novice, their inexperience when it comes to when it comes to these instances. Argentina been there. Argentina has done that. Argentina are a team who, like I said, Copa America final back in 2021, beating Brazil 1-0. Finalissima final. My bad, I could not speak right there. Finalissima final against Italy, beating them 3-0, I believe. And then World Cup final, beating France in penalties. And now you're in another Copa America final again. To them, this is nothing. I mean, the pressure, they've already dealt with pressure. This is just another final. This is like watching Madrid in the final almost, where they're able to handle the pressure, they're able to deal with the circumstance because they've already been through it. They've been there, done that, like I said. So Argentina really showed that today. Very poised on the ball, very just overall just very experienced. I don't think you can knock that off from Scaloni's men. And I mean, from the first minute, it was a lot of back and forth, but not a lot of grand opportunities opening up for both teams. I say within like the first half, there was probably 3 opportunities on both sides, but nothing really outstanding, nothing really crazy, up until the dying moments of the game when. Well, the dying moments of the game when once it got to extra time because of all the back and forth and the rigid game like a regular Copa America game is. It's not very beautiful on the eye, as you can say, compared to when you see the Euro tournaments and the Euro final that we saw this morning. But that's how it is in Copa America. That's how South American ball is. It's very much back and forth, kind of ugly. It's very rispido. I don't know what's the right word to say. Rispido. It's just a lot of tackles, a lot of fouls, and we saw that especially towards the end of the game. But first off, I mean, you got to feel for Lionel Messi. He couldn't finish the game in his possible last match for Argentina. I mean, not for Argentina, but for Argentina and the Copa America, shall I say. So in Lionel Messi's possible last match of the Copa America, possible last final for Argentina, unless they make it to another World Cup final. Who knows? But I mean, they still have La Finalissima, never mind. But in his possible last match in the Copa America, for sure, Lionel Messi, we see him get injured twice. I mean, it was a pretty severe ankle injury. I think it was in the second half of the match, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think he strains himself just running alone and trying to recover a ball. And that's when he asked for the sub. And you see him breaking down in tears. And it's just not an image that you want to see, especially given all the dramatics that have happened throughout the day in general with Copa America. The last thing you want to see is Messi crying on the bench because he had to ask for sub and he couldn't finish the game. He couldn't help Argentina anymore. But I mean, the thing about this Argentina team is that they don't rely on Lionel Messi as much as they used to maybe 2 years back if we're looking at Copa America and at the World Cup. Now, fast forward a year and a half, almost 2 years later, this is an extremely balanced team where overall they have world class players. Even coming off the bench, you saw the three changes that really stood out to me. You saw Leandro Paredes come in, Giovanni Lo Celso, and Lautaro Martinez. And you compare those three changes to Nestor Lorenzo's changes. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't even remember the names that came on, because the names that Lionel Scaloni brought on and the names that are on the bench for Argentina are just that much greater than what Colombia had. They just overall had a better bench. They had more depth when it came down to it, and that's really what matters the most in these kind of tournaments in world football nowadays. You really need squad depth, and you need the players that are on the bench to put in the shift. Yes, to really step it up, but also you need them to be world class because you need them to be able to compete with other world class players on the field too. And we saw that with Argentina today. And um, we saw Di Maria come out. I think he was the one of the people that came out for those three subs. And I think in his last game as well, for Argentina in general, I don't believe he's going to make it to any more matches. I think this is overall like his retirement, international retirement from Argentina, unless he does play La Finalissima, which I don't see why he shouldn't be able to. But I mean, you have to applaud his career. Honestly, a stellar career in general from club level, but now at international level. I mean, what he did at the Olympics when he was younger, what he did for Argentina in Brazil, winning the Copa America, scoring the winning goal in the final. I don't. Oh, he did score the first goal in the final. I mean, he's been pivotal in Argentina's success, and I think he's one of the players that is definitely underrated, always under the radar. I don't want to say behind Messi's shadow because I'm pretty sure in Argentina he has great value, but in world football in general, I do believe he is quite underrated. But I mean, an incredible performance from Argentina in general, collectively, individually, and like I said, that squad depth was key. Lionel Scaloni's changes were key to their success in this final, because once Lucho Diaz came off, once James Rodriguez came off, there wasn't as much threat. Yes, Colombia did have a few opportunities, but I mean, when you have the defense that Argentina does in Cristian El Cuti Romero and then Lisandro Martinez, who are just they are top of the line defenders. They're absolute dogs at the back. It's very difficult to beat them. I think they went through this whole tournament without being conceded on when Lisandro Martinez started the match. So I mean, it's an incredible achievement defensively. Now, if we're looking offensively, obviously the goal had to come from somewhere, right? And it was an incredible buildup between, I think it was Paredes who recovers the ball, Lo Celso, so I think the two guys that came on, I think he was involved as well, and then Lautaro Martinez, the three guys really that came on for Lionel Scaloni. They changed the game, and I mean they won the match for him. We saw that ball. I don't know if from Lo Celso or for Paredes. I would have to rewatch the play game, but they put a great ball into Lautaro Martinez, and he bullies the defender off the ball a little bit, and an incredible finish over the goalkeeper, who really couldn't do anything. He was already beat on the floor, and Lautaro Martinez just puts it in the top where the goalkeeper couldn't get it. And I mean, in a season where I mean he's had his ups and downs, an incredible form for Inter Milan. Obviously, the captain for Inter Milan. I think he scored over 20 goals this season, if I'm not mistaken. We know that he's an incredible goal scorer. He can be inconsistent, especially when he puts on the Argentina jersey. I mean, I think he only has around 29 or 26 goals for Argentina in his whole career. But I mean, there's no denying that he plays with his heart, and we saw that today, and we've seen that throughout this tournament. While Julian did get the start today, I mean, Lautaro Martinez, when he came on, he did not skip a beat. Within the first few touches, he got his goal, right? So I mean, you have to commemorate him, you have to applaud him, and you also have to see what this means for Argentina, what this means for Lautaro Martinez. I think the last time that there was a lone goal scorer for the Copa America in general, because I think that there have been combined top goal scorers, but not a lone goal scorer, was back in, if I don't remember how many years back, but it was Gabriel Batistuta, who was the last lone goal scorer. So another Argentinian. And now we see another Argentinian here in Lautaro Martinez, top goal scorer of the Copa America, lone goal scorer of the Copa America, gets his goal today and wins the Copa America for Argentina. It's a beautiful story that just wraps up, and I mean, it completes this narrative of Argentina being one of the best generations of national team that we've probably ever seen. I mean, if you compare it to that Spain team that dominated from 2008 to 2012, this one can very well put in a good fight. They don't play, obviously, the most beautiful football compared to that Spanish team, but they have balls, they have grit, they have heart, they have passion, and that's what you really want to see from a team too. And those are the kind of teams that are very difficult to beat, as we saw today. Colombia, while they had passion, they had heart. It just wasn't enough compared to the Argentinians in general. But I mean, what else can we say from the matchup? I mean, now we have a finalissima set up, right? Because Euros and Copa America now have that final game together, or la finalissima. And Spain obviously won the final, the Euro final today. Argentina with the Copa America win. Now that sets up this finalissima final in 2025 next year between Spain and Argentina. And there's gonna be some beautiful narratives right there. Lamine Yamal, emerging product from La Masia for Spain in general, was held in the same hands that Lionel Messi, as Lionel Messi when he was up and coming, and now they're probably going to face off in one of Messi's last final matches for Argentina. Is an incredible narrative that is set up moving forward, and it's a beautiful run, right? I mean, Lamine Yamal, a wonder product, a wonder kid, 16-year-old, 17-year-old now, child prodigy in the world of football, and one of the most informed players for one of the most informed wingers in general. And we saw what he did today, right? He was the the young player of the Euro, I believe. He won the trophy for the young player of the Euro. And Argentina, obviously, they have Messi, who is the best player in the world, probably the best player that has ever walked the earth, right? And they're going to be facing off in this incredible final. I don't know where it's going to be at just yet, but it's going to set up an amazing matchup. It's going to set up a historical matchup. Honestly, it's like watching the baton be passed on uh, between one of the world's greats into what could be one of the world's greats if everything goes well for Lamine Yamal. But enough of glazing. I know I kind of went on a tangent right there, but like I said, overall, an incredible Copa America. But I mean, for Argentina specifically, I don't want to say as an event or for the US, there's a lot of work to do when it comes to organizing events when it comes to the US. And it sucks because there's only 2 years before the World Cup starts. So the USSF, USA in general, CONMEBOL, all these organizers, they have to get their shit together if we want to see a successful Copa America. I mean, a successful World Cup come 2026, because this is one of the things that was being brought up on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok, on all social media platforms, was how the States is going to be able to handle, I mean, the World Cup in 2 years. How exactly are they going to be able to organize something so grand and so wonderful and so beautiful? Will we see something like this where we see another halftime show that lasts 20, 25 minutes? Because we don't want to see that. You know, as a football fan, maybe if it was a Super Bowl, yeah, I'm down for that. But that's the only reason I'm watching the Super Bowl, not for the actual game, because of the performance. But people watch these finals. People watch Copa America final, Euro final, World Cup final, Champions League final for the actual gameplay, not for ads, not for commercials, not for halftime shows. We watch it because we want to see what's on display, the product that's on display, because that's what we truly care about as football fans. So I hope CONMEBOL learns from this. I hope the US learns from this. I hope the venues learn from this as well, because I'm sure this is going to be a learning curve for everybody. And I know I said that this is all on CONMEBOL. Yes, that is true, but obviously there is always something to learn from anything and any mistake that happens in general, right? So overall, I mean, let's see if something happens moving forward. If we can have a successful World Cup in 2026, I pray for all the people that got injured or scared or terrified, for any kids that were traumatized in any of the events that happened today, because that's the most important part. I mean, forgetting about football and forgetting about everything else, we want to care for our people, for other human beings. So I pray for any families that were traumatized, for any kids that were traumatized, for anybody that was injured. And I hope that people can get their money back if they weren't allowed into the stadiums, right? But overall, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching Charla Football. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all sorts of social media. Check out our website, Spotify, YouTube. Support your small creators, because together we're going to make it big. And I mean, I want to see myself at that 2026 World Cup, making more content for you guys, and really being that voice of football, that voice of the fan, and be able to connect with more fans and bring culture to the US, and bring that sport that we all love, and be able to unify more people here, because that's the point of football, is to unify. It's to show passion, it's to show love. It's not this ugly side that we saw before the game, because that's not the kind of things that we want to see. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one.